What is up, survivors? This is Harv with Harv's Corner. Today, we're gonna, for our 101 series, we're gonna go over the ocean biome. It doesn't look too very oceany where I'm at, but we're gonna delve into it. We're gonna walk around, kind of stroll around the top part of the biome, the bottom part, points of interest, what creatures to expect and see, the whole 9 yards. So let's get into it. So the ocean biome is, and that should look familiar. If you watch some of the build videos, that's where we're at. We're on the single player over here on the ocean. The ocean biome is going to be, from the top side, it's going to look a little odd, right? You're going to have a lot of these little land masses here, and some of them are going to be really hard to get up into. You're going to have to use platforms, ladders, climbing gear, wingsuit, parachute, grappling hooks to get up to them. And it's going to be a pretty common thing. You're going to see these a lot of places, and a lot of them can get even higher. Some of your glitch notes obviously are going to be way up here as well, and some of these get really tall, as we can see all the way up here. The nice thing about these guys for resources in these areas, a lot of these top peaks have metal, and they also have salt deposits too. So you have salt, metal, obviously trees, berries, all that good stuff. But that's primarily what you're going to find on top of a lot of these. And as you can see, this is pretty big. So, I mean, obviously there's a world berry that goes around, but pretty much, like, if I angle this down, pretty much what you see in here is this biome. So, I mean, it's pretty big, and a lot of these big pillar outcrop things can be built upon, provided they're not inside of missionaries, but these get crazy big. As far as animals that you're going to see out here on the surface, you're going to see Pelagornis as far as flyers go. You're going to see the little seagull steely guys, the little Echithornis guys. You're going to see a lot of Mesopithecus, the small little monkeys that like to throw poo at things. You're going to see Lystros out here as well. That's pretty much it. It's all really small animals. There's not a whole lot, nothing really aggressive too much aside from the annoying thieving birds. There's nothing really that crazy out here. As far as like amphibious life, you're going to see like the small, the actual turtles out here. You're going to see the Diplocalus that you would normally see in the swamp biome, the little arrow-headed lizard looking dude. You're going to see those out here as well. In the water itself, and I'm trying to find one for you. Oh, here we go. You're going to see the ducks out here. The Hesperornis are going to be out here as well. So this is a good site. Probably your one and only. Well, there's 2 places technically, but this is the most common one to find organic polymer. This is going to be where you're going to go to. These guys will be floating around. I would highly recommend having something like a Bloodstalker before you come over here. The ability to skate across the top of the water and harvest and kill the ducks and harvest them, and then the ability to climb up to these peaks makes it really, really, really useful. Now there's a couple of areas obviously where they do have a small shoreline that you can kind of come up to, but these are rare. Now, there's only like 3 or 4 of these throughout this biome. Primarily most of the action in this biome is happening right up against that world barrier. Most of what's happening is in the water. It's primarily what you're going to find. There's a couple of cool build spots outside of here. This one crops out to me right here, this spot here that also has some oil rocks on it. And we can pull a GPS out so that you guys can see the coordinates. This is where these oil rocks are at. It's 20.1, 52.3, and it's just a cool little spot. It looks a little bit different than most of the other spots out here, but that's a cool little beachhead. And I mean, I'm sure you could combine cliff platforms and things to make this pretty awesome, but that's definitely an option there. Obviously, the new ocean platforms, that's primarily what you're probably going to build a base on if you're out. Say if you want to build something on the surface, this biome obviously caters to once you get up to the tech tier, making something underwater. This guy is pretty cool. So this is the one closest to the surface, and they're these little terrariums, and you're going to see these all over underneath the water, but this one is the one that's closest to the surface, and the location for this guy is 260443. Now on the top it'll have these red hexes, and we'll go down here real quick. So these red hexes you can't actually get through here, right? It's just like a ceiling, but you can see down in here, right? And they're all kind of like this. You actually approach it from the side, so you can see them down here real quick, and I can show you what is going on. The ocean underneath of this is very vast, very big, and very deep. Just about anything that you would normally see under the ocean is in here. Anyway, you'll come across the sides of this, and sometimes they'll be big, sometimes they'll be small, depending on where the terrarium's at, but the wall will be blue, and that's a note that you can come in and out of here. It'll immediately toggle you over. And it's pretty cool, it's pretty scenic, and some of these you can actually even build in, even on more of an official setting where you can't build within missionaries. But so, this one down here actually has oil rock. I think it has a little bit of, yeah, it has a little bit of metal down here. I think that's it for this one. I think it's really just oil rock and metal that's down here. I don't think there's a whole lot else in this particular one. But there's different ways, ins and outs. It kind of reminds me of kind of like the air bubble theme on the center, which is maybe where some of that inspiration came from. But these are really cool. And there's a couple more towards the center of the biome, but a little bit deeper, that actually have access to your red, green, and blue gems from the aberration area. So this is where you're going to want to go to find those gems. There's a couple of caves towards the center of the map coming down. That's where you're going to find them at. But yeah, but these terrariums are really cool. There's, like I said, I think there's 4 or 5 of them out here, and they all seem to be at different sizes and have different things inside of them as well. I think there's 2 that have the red and green gems in them, but primarily they're in the center. But let's cruise back out here again, just to take a look around. So there's a lot of like coral and stuff that's going to be hanging around out here, and a lot of this coral works as stone. It'll give you stone and actually flint as well. So taming something like a Dunkleo down here is actually really useful to be able to harvest all that. The plant life that's down here, the seaweed and seagrass, can be harvested for fiber or for actual just straight up berries. If you have the Megachelon, the big turtle, he can actually bite these things underwater and grab all of the berries from it. But yeah, these guys pretty much give you berries. Periodically around the sides, you'll see these look like clamshells sitting out here. These are actually silica pearl deposits. So they'll actually gather them, they'll give you silica pearls, and sometimes they'll give you raw fish meat as well. Anglerfish work on these guys. Anglerfish are down here in this biome, and you can totally tame them and bite these things and grab pearls. But as you can see, there's pretty big spots. You're going to see spots like this kind of all over the place where you can harvest pearls at. Sea life, as far as what's down here, at the depth that we're at, and as you can see, this goes way, way, way down. But at the depth we're at, we're going to see the Megachelons, we're going to see the Megalodons. You're going to see things like coalfish swarming around. Electric eels, you're going to see a decent amount of eels out here. Dolphins, Basilosaurus, these are pretty plentiful down here. You'll see these in the more shallower depths. Pretty much it as far as what you're going to see at this depth anyway. So a little bit lower, you're going to see manta rays down here as well, following the bassies around and then on their own. A little bit lower is where you start to see some of the meaner stuff, but I was looking around on one of these flat areas to maybe kind of show you. A lot of these flat areas can be home to either trilobites or the little lobsters that hang out underneath here, the ones that like to knock you out. So definitely be careful if you're coming down here to harvest things. Let me pull a hatchet out because some of these actually give you something else. So now these are stone as well. What we're looking for, and if I find them, I'll show them to you. It might actually be these big plate looking things out here. There's the Diplocalus and the turtles that you're going to see out here. Actually, yeah, there's one of the little lobsters hanging out over there. They usually hang out in groups. But these things right here, these things will give you fungal wood, thatch, and rare mushrooms. And that's these big flat ones, which I thought was kind of cool. So you can actually get fungal wood while you're down here as well. There's a lot of resources out here. Towards the bottom of the sea level, sometimes even in the shallower end, you can find obsidian. You can find metal down here, oil rock down here, stone down here, crystals down here. Depending on the terrariums that you go to, you have the gems inside the terrariums, and we can actually swim over to this one to kind of check it out to see what's in there. There's a lot of resources. Like once you get a good foothold in this biome with as far as tames go, you can actually, you don't really need to, once you get comfortable anyway, you don't really need to go to a lot of the other biomes for a whole lot of anything. There's a couple things to pay attention to. Obviously, the deeper you go, you're going to start to run into Dunkleos. You're going to start to see anglerfish. There's a Dunkleo here. You're going to see jellyfish out here, but you're also going to see mosasaurs, and they're ex-mosasaurs, so they're going to be tougher. Your Dunkleos are ex-Dunkleos, and your Megalodons are ex-Megalodons, so they're going to be tougher. You're going to see plesiosaurs down here, and you're going to see the Tusos, the squids down here as well. You will occasionally you'll see the leads, the big whale that likes to blow up the rafts. Ammonites are actually pretty common down here. You're gonna see these guys everywhere. They're being groups, and you can see they're pretty common down here on the ocean floor. But anyway, we're gonna check this terrarium out. This one's pretty low down here. remember if this is the one I'm looking for or not, but let's check it out anyway. Oh, man. Okay. So right away, you can see some of the missions are here. But yeah, this is actually the cave I'm talking about. So this actually has all these gems, and you're going to see these gems everywhere in here. This cave is actually one of the two, but this one is actually this is actually the smaller one of the two. So you can see the exits over there, and then the exit here. So this is actually, it looks really big. It looks really big, right? But it's actually the smaller of the two. The other one's further down, and it's incredibly big, and it has these crystal deposits all over the place. So you'll get your red, your blue, and your green gems from these guys, as well as crystal and a little bit of stone. And again, all this plant life down here can be harvested for berries, for all that good stuff. There's going to be stone down here. All these weird things actually just give you stone. They don't give you anything special. These little red corals, they'll all give you stone and crystal, or stone and flint, rather. The one plant life to pay attention to is actually these guys here, these little spiral bluish gray guys. Yeah, let's pull a sickle out. So it actually gives us a little bit of silk as well. So if you're looking for desert gear or something that needs silk, those are usually the way to go. You'll find them in some of the shallow waters too. You don't have to come all the way down here to find something like that. But yeah, it's pretty cozy. It's a pretty cozy area down here. And there's no wild animals that spawn in here. Now I've seen ocean creatures. It looks like if you get chased in here by something, that sometimes they'll be able to get their head in. Like it won't kill them. They just won't be able to get in, but they'll be able to like stick their head in with some of the bigger stuff. So be careful about being too close to some of these things and pulling aggro. But yeah, this is pretty cool. It's enormous, right? I mean, this is big, and this isn't even, and like I said, this isn't even the biggest one. In our PvE server, I'm based up in the ocean actually, and I love it. You have access, like I said, once you get a decent footing and some decent tames, you have access to pretty much everything. You have metal on top of the rocks, there's metal under the ocean, there's oil under the ocean, there's obsidian under the ocean, your gems and your crystals are under the ocean. Like, you don't really need to go out for a whole lot, and because of the ammonites and the lobsters and the trilobites, if you're able to hunt all those guys down, chitin to turn into cementing paste isn't nearly as hard. This is something I want to talk about, and that's these whirlpool things. They will come and go as they please, and you want to be careful of these. So I'm going to purposely get myself stuck in here. You'll get pulled in, and you'll just start to get sucked in here. It may spit you out if you try to force yourself out, but it kind of keeps you stuck in here. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. It kind of fights you. Now these will eventually, like the one that I'm stuck in right now, it'll eventually go away, but it'll hold you here in place. Now, even if you're riding a dino, it'll pull you in. It'll pull you in and like slingshot you out around the other side. But as you can see, this is actually starting to wear off, it looks like. Yeah. So they don't last too terribly long when they come up, but you want to pay attention to them, especially if you're out here trying to tame something underwater. It can be incredibly, it can be a giant pain in the butt. The deeper you go, obviously, the worse it's going to get. These little air bubbles are pretty neat. I think it's something that maybe the Megachelons leave behind with them. But when you get inside of them, they're going to provide you with air and then try to move you up into the ocean. You can melee them and pop them, but these apply to your sea dinos too, so you want to be careful when you're out here. You don't want to run into one of these with your sea dino, or else it's going to surface them. But it's a cool point for oxygen if you're having problems with oxygen down here. You'll see these ruins here. Ruins will usually have, I think there's a mission down here, because this is like the lower depths down here. But you'll see these structures too, along with the terrariums. Definitely more dangerous down here. I would highly recommend taming something like a Basilosaurus coming down here. Just because he's immune to the eel stings and immune to the Tuso's crab that's down here. So Basilosaurus might be a really good friend, and they're in shallow water, so they're fairly easy to tame, and they're pretty good for exploration down here. I highly recommend using them. Yeah, so this is actually the biome where you will fight the minor boss. Not to give huge spoilers away, but there's a minor underwater boss that you can actually fight on this map in this biome. You'll track the mission, and you can actually come down here and bring some tames with you and fight down here. And yeah, so that's one of the perks of coming down here as well. As far as missions go, there's the typical style missions that you would find in most of the other biomes. There's races where you can race a manta ray around on the water. There's hunting missions. You can come down here and hunt a whale, or come down here and hunt a mosasaur or whatever. Obviously the boss fight that I talked about, the typical exploration ones. There's a hunting party for coming down here and killing a sea of megalodons. Basically, there's some escort missions. You can escort a turtle to safety around down here. But down here at the bottom is where it really starts to look pretty neat. Everything changes to this bioluminescent sort of look. And this particular area, which seems to be pretty much the bottom, and from here, in this section anyway, there's multiple bottom levels, but this particular bottom level where I'm coming down to, obviously it's on the bottom of the map, but we're looking at about 30.5, 56.9. This area is actually pretty empty as far as like harmful creatures goes. So if you were looking for a spot like in the deep ocean to do like an underwater base, this would actually be a pretty neat spot for that. But yeah, the ocean biome. So we're gonna teleport back to the surface here as soon as the little Helena robot wants to cooperate. With this biome, we'll immediately put you on one of those pillars. You're never gonna just drop into the ocean or be in the ocean. It's always gonna put you on land somewhere. So it's actually incredibly safe teleporting over here because you're always gonna be on land, and there's not really a whole lot on land that's gonna mess with you. But this biome, I mean, this is just a small part of this ocean biome. It's very vast, and it's incredibly big. Like it's just nuts. Let's zoom all the way out here. But I mean, this is your biome, and it doesn't seem like much on the surface, but you have to remember that most of this is crazily underwater, just crazy underwater. And actually, you know what? The okay for the gems, we showed you that. This is the southeast spawn, this rock up here. This is the southeast spawn that we spawned in at. And actually where I'm built at on our PvE server is right around where this turtle's at that we tamed. So it's actually chilling. I have an ocean platform built like right here and like an underwater base built. This is actually a pretty good spot too because it has a beach that comes up to it. And it's a little bit more area than what the other areas beach up to. So you have this area, and you can easily make a ramp to step up here to get you some extra land room if that's what you need. This little area is 40.6, 60.4. And this is actually right up against the edge of the map. Like the edge of the map's like right here, so pretty much backed up to it. But yeah, the ocean biome, I mean, this is pretty insane. There's a lot of cool stuff out here. I really like it. I think it's actually one of the easier biomes, mainly because you're pretty much left alone. When you go in the water, obviously you got to deal with the sharks and the eels and things like that. But I mean, once you get a decent raft or something like that under your belt, I mean, it's fairly easy to come out here and tame a lot of these sea creatures and do your thing. I will say, once you get to doing the deep sea exploration, it is very easy to get turned around. So marking your locations on your map if you can is very helpful. But there's a lot to be had and a lot to be hidden underneath it here. It's not a simple land explorer like some of the other biomes can be. But yeah, guys, that's it. That's the ocean biome of the Genesis map, part 1. I hope you found this video useful, enlightening, helpful, whatever the case is. Please feel free, if you have any other questions regarding the biome or regarding Genesis in general, please feel free to leave a comment down there, and I'll try to address it as soon as possible. If you liked the video, please throw me a like, subscribe, hit the notification button so you know when the next videos are coming out. And also, like I said, if there's something else you want to see done on the 101s that we typically do on Wednesdays, please let me know. We're kind of going through a general overview of all the biomes, and then eventually I'd like to get into more of just the Genesis-based Ingrams and how those guys work. But yeah, feel free to follow me here, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitch. We Twitch live stream Friday and Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. But that's about it, guys. But I do want to take the time to say, hey, everyone, please stay safe, stay healthy, and stay smart in these crazy times that we're going through right now. But that's all I got, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And until next time.